Hello, thank you very much for joining this webinar today. My name is Jedo. I'm a sales manager for APAC, and we have Rory, general manager, and also we have Matthias, sales engineer. So today we are going to introduce about Ftrack, and also we are going to provide some demo so you can have better understanding about our platform. And at the end, we're gonna have some Q&A sessions so you can ask questions. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this session. And now I'll hand over to Rory. Thank you.
Thanks, Jodo. And hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. And I just wanted to let you know that we have the Q&A and questions open, but we'll have a time for questions at the end of this session. So feel free to ask your questions as we go through, and we'll try and address them at the end of this session today. So to have a quick introduction to Ftrack. Ftrack Studio is it's a tool for tracking your production. So it's a way of being able to track all of your assets, your tasks, your people, and to make sure that you have everything tracked in the one place, and that all of the information on a show is available to you in one location. We have a number of customers worldwide and thousands of users. As you can see from our customer list here, we have a number of customers in the animation space already. We have a lot of animation customers who come onto Ftrack because of the usability of the product and the sort of the appeal of the interface. It's one of those tools that people find their artists tend to like using. It sometimes can be hard to get artists to use a new platform, but if the interface appeals to them, and if the workflow makes sense, then it's much easier to get everyone in the studio involved. So Ftrack is really designed to solve what we've identified as the sort of the six major categories of things you need to do to effectively run a production. So you need to be efficient. You need to be able to communicate with everyone and make sure that everyone knows what's going on at all times. You need to be able to scale. So you can start small, you can scale up as the project demands, or you can scale up as the work increases and you're able to add people over time. You need flexibility. So you need a tool that will work out of the box, but which you can adapt, and we can work with you to help adapt and to add customization. You need to be able to foster creativity. So rather than having people spending all their day in spreadsheets and managing timesheets, you want artists to be able to concentrate on the art and less on the technology. And of course, security. So making sure that all of your media is well protected, accessible to everyone within the organization, but not accessible to anyone outside of your studio. So Ftrack at a glance. It is generally used as a cloud-based service. So everything is hosted in the cloud and is centrally accessible, although you can also use it as an on-premise installation. It allows you to map out entire productions and to be able to visualize entire productions with ease, both from an overview point of view and then the ability to drill down and see specific things. You can track assets, you can track versions, you can track all of the different material that you're using on a show and see what stage things are at, see what level of approvals things are at, see what needs to be done. You can connect with a bunch of different apps and tools so that you have access to those tools from within Ftrack, and you have access to Ftrack information from within those tools. And you can adapt your pipeline and you can adapt Ftrack to your pipeline using our API. Again, that flexibility I was talking about, customization, the ability to be able to add the things as you go, start simply and build the tools up. So in terms of the tools that Ftrack integrates with, there's a small subset here, but we integrate with a number of tools from the Foundry, a number of tools from Adobe, tools like Unity and Unreal and Perforce. So we cover a lot of the tools that both animation and games companies would use, as well as visual effects and other customers that we work with. And we actively maintain these plugins. So this is all managed through our Ftrack Connect portal. And it's something we're actively adding to. It's something we're actively developing all the time. And when we keep these up to date, so that we're always working with the latest version of the integrations. And in addition to being able to track all of your assets and to manage them internally, we also include a number of review tools. So the ability to be able to visualize the material you're working on, to be able to share it with clients externally, to be able to share it with other studios you're collaborating with. So everyone can see what you're doing. And in reviews, you can send material out for people to review in their own time, or you can send material out and review it in sync with other people. So they're seeing exactly what you're seeing while you're talking it through. So again, it's intended to be very flexible in terms of the way you want to work, but very powerful when you're using it the way that you want to use it. So let's, I'm going to throw over to Matthias, and he's going to show us live how Ftrack works. Just to give us a general overview of the tool. We're not going to get too into detail today, but if you have questions, feel free to ask later. And also we can follow up specific questions after this session. So Matthias, it's all yours.
Thanks, Rory. And hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. All good? Great, perfect. So let us dive straight into Ftrack then. And I'd like to start the demo in overview over in the top menu over on the left-hand side. And this is basically what we see in front of us here right now. So overview helps project managers to run projects efficiently by providing a bird's eye view of everything that's going on across different projects and departments, depending on how you configure it. A project manager can easily see what's going on each project. As you can see here, you can just scroll on the timeline to see what's coming up, or what you have booked, basically, what you've scheduled for your artists. This includes tasks. This includes calendar events, which basically allows you to block out larger phases of the project, basically. If you would like to basically tell everyone, or make it clear, basically, when you will be doing a certain type of work, basically, like compositing or, let's say, modeling. Here are just some examples. So, but besides that, you will also see milestones, and you'll be able to reschedule tasks by just clicking and dragging them on the timeline, basically, to reschedule it. And the same goes for calendar events and milestones as well. Just scroll down to see other projects. Quite a few here with quite a lot of data, but with the filtering in the overview section, you can filter down to particular types of work, for example, or let's say that you only want to see tasks that are assigned to a specific user, for example. That's possible to do here in overview. So I mean, for producers and supervisors, it's crucial to be able to take this high-level view of everything that's going on, and it's possible here, right in overview and on the project's dashboard. So next up, I mean, what we have been looking at so far have been from a project's perspective, right? From a project view, we can switch and see it from a user's view instead, so that you can see the workload for your users, basically, or your team members. It's just a matter of selecting the second built-in dashboard over here, because all those are built-in dashboards that allows you to see projects, cross projects, basically, from different angles. And if we take, let's say, Thomas here or Vera as an example here, you can see that what their workload looks like. You can see that they are working on multiple projects on the colors, because the colors here represents the different projects that they are working on. Terry here, for example, is quite booked a couple of days, but could probably take on more work later on during February here, for example. I mean, overview is that flexible. So as I mentioned earlier, you can filter down to what you exactly want to see for the time being, basically. Whether it's on the user level or on the timeline, or sorry, on the task level, basically, you can get down to a view that that shows you the data or the information that you want to see, basically. And you also have a number of settings you can change, the display density, what the actual colors mean here, for example, and so on and so forth. The user's dashboard also allows you to see, let's see if I have a good example down here, holidays, bank holidays, and so on and so forth. Let me switch over to a configured dashboard instead, because as I started out saying, here are the built-in dashboards, but you can, I mean, the configurations of dashboards that you set up can be saved into a custom dashboard that will be available here on the left-hand side further down. So let's take a look at my LA team dashboard, for example, which will show me data. If I go back a little bit, it makes more sense probably to look at it here. So here you can see that here's the dashboard that is only showing me 3 people out of, I think I have around 30 people on this instance, right? So it's just that I have added a filter for my LA team group and saved it into a custom dashboard for quick and easy access, basically. And that goes for, I mean, all of the different dashboards I have configured here are examples, just examples of how you can configure it. You can, for example, see versions that are assets, basically, that are in review. We will get back to this part a little bit later and show you the review tools more in depth. But here is how you can basically gather versions or assets from multiple projects at the same time. You can also look at it in a list kind of view if you prefer that layout. Yeah, that's it basically from in the overview overview module where you see it from the bird's eye view. So now I would like to jump into a project. I mean, from the bird's eye cross project view into a project. And the projects, one single project there, I mean, the project view looks like this. It's primarily, as you can see here, taken up of a large spreadsheet, which is where you build up your projects, you create your tasks, milestones, so on and so forth, custom objects, depending on what type of project you're tracking. Now we are focusing on an animation project, but you can actually track any type of creative project with Ftrack. And it can look like you can drill into a project by selecting a level on the left-hand side over here in the outline. As you can see here, for example, I have created a bunch of tasks on this shot. It can look like this. You can give them different task types or pipeline steps so that it's clear that what each task represents, what type of work, basically. As you can see here, you can also, of course, you can track the status. You can assign people directly from the spreadsheet. It allows inline editing, so it's just a double click to change the values, right? As long as you have the permission, of course. This can be controlled with the roles and the permissions system. The spreadsheet itself is highly customizable. I mean, in terms of columns, what columns you can see, it's just to go in under the cogwheel, create a new attribute if you would like to. I mean, if you don't find the attribute or find an attribute that could represent the data you want to track, it's just a matter of creating that attribute. And we provide a number of built-in types, like depending on the type of data you want to store, it can be numbers, text, drop downs, or enumerators, values, and so on and so forth. So it's just a matter of going in and do that. Those can be created on a project level or on a global level, depending on how you want that specific column or information to be used basically. If the information that is common and that is that will be on every project you will be tracking, then it makes sense, of course, to make that a global attribute, for example. But it's just a matter of going in here and creating that, adding it to the view, and besides that, you can of course reorder attributes in the way you like. And you might have noticed now that this lighted up in purple, which just means that any change that you do to the spreadsheet can be saved into a view, which is basically the same fundamental basic idea as in overview with the dashboards. Here you can create your own view. You can say exactly what columns you want to have in that view and the order of them, the width of them, so on and so forth. You can even drill down or filter down to specific tasks. Let's say that I only want to see tasks that are in progress. And now we're still on the first sequence, but if I expand this one, you will see that I'm only looking at in progress tasks, right? And this filtering that you do, that you add over here on the right hand side, can also be saved as part of the view configuration. So this also allows you for I mean, to be able to quickly switch between different angles of the same data, basically. Here I have a number of example views. You can even share views with other people so that you can make sure basically that everyone is looking at the same data at the same time. In a scenario like that. And an example of a completely different view is the shots view. It looks like this. If I just allow me to collapse that one, or actually do like this, I collapse all of them, so it makes more sense. So it can look like this. Instead of seeing it task by task, you can lay out the tasks in columns like this one. So which allows you to more easily quickly see the status of tasks in this case. You can expand them to see other attributes that you have added. But if you like, let's say that you want to see under the statuses, it's just a matter of just switching that view. And those are called task type columns, basically, or task columns in the menu. Let me switch back to the project level again. And here you can see that this works on any level as well, right? And still also inline editing, so you can change statuses directly from here if you, I mean, you should require that. And also, let's see if there's anything else. Let me switch back to the default view again. I wanted also, of course, to mention that what we saw in overview was more of a broad stroke planning, right? Or on a higher level, at least. On the project level, we provide a Gantt view. Let me just scroll some data into view here. And probably also actually we can drill into the asset builds, and I have prepared the Spring asset in this case, just so that makes some sense for you on this demo. The Spring character in this case, or the Spring asset, is the girl in this animation movie, and here is basically what we how we blocked or basically scheduled the work to create that asset. So in this case, I just created a bunch of tasks, drag them out on the timeline. It's just a matter of actually, if I do like this one, unscheduled that one, it's just a matter of when you book a scheduled task in Ftrack, just a matter of dragging it out on the timeline. It's as simple as that. And you can also connect tasks by just dragging them from one end to another, like this one, to create a link or a dependency between those two tasks. Well, I just undo that. You can go. I mean, you can undo and redo, and you also have a save, order save button functionality in here as well. So you don't need to hit the save icon or hit Control Command S or something like that. You can also have this auto saved whenever you do changes, if you prefer doing that, of course. It's not always you want to do that, of course, but if you want to, then that functionality is there. I mean, just saying something more about what you see here, the same functionality in terms of, I mean, rescheduling tasks, just a matter of dragging it on the timeline. You can move tasks as a group. if they are linked together, and Ftrack knows that they have a relationship to each other, then you can move them as a whole group, or you can drag. Let's say that you need to push the creation here, or the spring asset. It's just a matter of dragging the whole bar at the top as well. So this is how you can work with the Gantt scheduler in Ftrack. Besides that, you have a number of overlays depending on what you want the blocks here to represent. Basically, you can look at logged time, for example, how many hours have been logged on each task. And now I don't have that as an example here, but if any of those tasks exceeds or basically goes over the bidded time on the task, it turns red. So it will also indicate quickly and clearly that you are over time on a task, for example. Besides the progress as well, you can instead have it represent the type of work if you want to have that. So there are a number of different overlays. You can change the row height or the display density, yeah, so on and so forth. A number of other settings in there. And before I actually dive into asset management and about that, I also wanted to mention that you can export data out from Ftrack if you would like to analyze it in an external tool, for example, or if you would like to share data with an external client, for example, then that's possible. And basically what you have selected in the view, or basically what you are showing in the spreadsheet, is what you will get out of Ftrack. So it's very easy to get data out, get the right data out. Basically, if let's say that you only would like to export tasks that have been approved, let's say, or that are still in progress, or things like that, then it's just a matter of filtering down to that and exporting it, and that is basically what you will get in the exported file. You have, if I go back to the top level again, as you can see, it's easy to go between the different levels on the project, right? So it's just to select it on the left hand side. If you like to not work with the hierarchy view, I mean the three type of view, you can also just switch over to a shot view, for example, just see the shots in a plain list, or for that matter, a task view, if you would like to just see tasks for some reason and don't care about where those tasks are sitting, basically, at the moment. Most times it does make sense with hierarchy, just to see how they are connected together. So that's the default view in Ftrack. Yes, saying something also, yes, one more thing about when you create tasks in Ftrack, you can just do it, of course, by clicking the create button, but you can also import tasks or input data, import any type of project data, like let's say sequences, shots, tasks, any custom information can be imported through the CSV importer. So it's just a matter of basically, if you have an Excel spreadsheet, it's just a matter of selecting the data in that spreadsheet and paste it into Ftrack, and it will Ftrack will be able to create the structure for you, basically, out from how that spreadsheet is looking. That was to mention. So next up, I wanted to show you the versions page and talk a little bit about asset management. So the versions page on the project level basically it displays what assets or asset versions have been produced on the project so far. And this is on the project level. Again, I mean, if you select something on the left-hand side, that will filter what you see on the right-hand side. So it's easy to drill into, let's say, focus on a specific project for the time being right now, for example. And if you would like to only see assets from a particular shot, for example, it's just a matter of selecting it on the right-hand side. And it will just show you that data on the right-hand side. And that applies to all the different pages or dashboards that you can see over here on the right-hand side. A selection on the left-hand side filters down the view, basically. It has the same basic functionality as the task spreadsheet. I mean, you can create views. You can switch over to a view, for example, that only shows you the pending review items. You can save different views, share them with other users. You can create new attributes exactly the same way as in the task spreadsheet, so that you can track or store the data on your assets that you need to track, basically. You can export the data and so on and so forth. And what actually is the difference to the task spreadsheet is that you also have a thumb layout, so that you can easily quickly see what you are displaying basically on the versions page. And this also allows you just to click an item to do a quick review of it directly in the browser. It's just a matter of clicking the thumbnail to get into the overlay player. Let's see, also worth mention actually from here is that if you click an asset, you'll open the side panel, which basically shows you the actual files that are being tracked on this particular version. So here we have on the components tab here, for example, we see that we are tracking 3 different files. One of them is on a local disk, and the other 2 are on the demo workspace that I'm using right now. So here we have a number of different options how you would like to track your files, depending on how you would like to track your files. You can just send them up to the cloud and track them where they are on the cloud storage, but you can also which is the default setting, which also puts the production file or the work file on a local disk, as you can see here. This is basically about the actual files that are being tracked on this asset version. And normally this could be, as you can see here, you can actually see that this file is representing the thumbnail. This file is representing the reviewable file that will play when we hit play here. The actual file that played just there is this file, and again, this is a production file. So each of the components have its own purpose or use. It could be low-res versions or high-res versions, or whatever you can think of. This is customizable as well. And each of the assets, as with the tasks and shots and so on in the task spreadsheet, they have their own status. They have their own labels that you can set. Or some of the information will be automatically populated in Ftrack when you publish through, let's say, Maya, for example. We will automatically, of course, put the who published it and when was it published and things like that, depending on each situation, basically how that exact version got published. You can publish a file by just dropping it into the web interface, but you can also, as I said, you can use integrations. You can use our desktop application that looks like this. That comes free with a subscription of Ftrack. And on the publish tab here you can also just drop in your files, and they will end up here in this spreadsheet when you hit publish. Let's see if we from here should take a quick look at the review tools. Currently there are 2 ways to review media. One that you can use for internally, basically with colleagues, and one that you can use externally with clients. The internal one looks like, if I just directly from the version spreadsheet, if I select the versions that I want to review, I can just, I could of course have selected all of them, but you can also select a subset of them. So it's just a matter of selecting them, go to the context menu, review, and play it in the web player. So it can look like this, basically. The media taking up most of the space in the top left. You have the playlist at the bottom. You have a way to add or basically read feedback and so on the right hand side. as a supervisor or someone reviewing media here, you can also change the status, of course, of this particular version that you're looking at or reviewing right now.
Yeah, so it's really intended to be a really easy to use interface and really simple. And it can do all the things you would expect to be able to do in a review interface. You can play, you can draw on the screen to point things out. You have a number of different drawing tools available to you, from a paintbrush tool, so you can just sketch on the screen, to a few preset tools, things like arrows and squares and predefined shapes. And yes, and you can change colors, and by default, anyone else joining this review will be assigned a different color, so that everyone will be visually distinct from each other. But you can also type feedback in. So in addition to any text notes that you add, if you enter specific notes, it will make a note and it will assign it to this particular frame. So at any point, once these notes have been submitted, at any point, no matter where we go to within the video, if we click on the note, it'll jump back to this note again, and it will show it again. So, and you can also jump to notes by just clicking on the pip on the time screen on the timeline there. So it means that you always have access to your notes. You can jump back to them at any time, and the notes are specific to frames. They're not just notes generally across the video and hoping that people will understand which bit of the video you're talking about. Review will support video. It will support frames. It will support PDFs, so a wide range of media. And as Matthias is showing you now, you can also compare between different versions. So here we have two different versions that are slightly different lighting. And we can either compare them in an overlay mode, and you can switch between the two, or we can see them side by side. So you can see the version pre and post the lighting pass. Or whatever has been done, you're able to switch between those versions and see them as you go. So it, yeah, as I said, it's designed to be a really light, simple tool. You can use this. Matthias is prompting me here to show a couple of other features. You can also you have control over things like the playback speed, so you can adapt that as you go through. If you want to see a shot played at a different speed, you can adapt that as you're playing along. You can set sequences to loop, so you can see it running back and forth, and you can also choose to select multiple clips from your playlist and play them as a sequence. So you can make little sort of context cuts, and you can see how one clip plays to the next, and you can update those at any time. So if you want to change the sequence, you can do that. But you can see here where if we hit play, it'll jump from one video to the next one. But if we make any notes while we're in the sequence player here, it will still make the note against the correct version in Ftrack. It won't just make it against the sequence. It'll actually make the notes relevant to the frame of the clip we're looking at the time we make the comment. So, so the feedback process just is still the same. Now, you can also see the details of any clip that's and the details that are listed within Ftrack. So this is basically some of the data that's associated with the shot. You can see the current status of that shot, and as Matthias said before, you can update the status of the asset as you go through. And we can also see the current task status associated with that shot. And a future version of review, which will be available fairly soon, will allow you to also update the task status from within this view as well. So we're trying to make the process of the feedback between the review player here and the Ftrack Studio database, try to make that feedback really clear and simple. So another thing which is worth pointing out, is that if you have multiple people in this review and they're all in this review together, you can also have a review in sync. So rather than just having one person making comments on their own and someone else coming in and looking at it at a different time, you can share this view and have more than one person in the review at the same time. And you will see if you're in sync, you'll get a little purple flashing dot on your icon. And anyone else who joins that review will also, if they join sync, will show up as a little flashing dot as well. And once they're in sync, and it's always difficult to show this side by side on one player, sorry, on one desktop, but once those videos are in sync, hitting play on one will play on the other, and if you change movies, it will change for both. And basically, once the videos are in sync and once the users are looking at the same content, then anything that anyone does on one screen will be reflected on the other. So if the guest plays, the host will see the video move. If the host draws, the guest will see that drawing appear live. So, and anytime if you were to stop on a frame, Ftrack makes sure that you are stopping on the same frame. So when someone's commenting on this particular shot, you can see the guest in the background is also looking at this shot. And yeah, we have a laser tool here as well, which allows you to draw on a screen without leaving a mark. So it's a nice thing to use during live reviews, so that you can yeah, mark things up without leaving drawings behind. So the review component of Ftrack is available as part of Ftrack Studio, and it is also available as a standalone tool. So you can buy Ftrack Review on its own. So if you're just interested in the review component of what Ftrack does, you can use that as its own standalone application. But if you want to be able to take the output of a review and communicate that back to artists, if you want to be able to use that to update tasks, if you want to be able to use that to schedule the next stage of what you're working on, then that's when Review integrates into Ftrack Studio and you get access to the full suite. So again, it's designed to be flexible. If you just need the review component and the simple kind of conversational part, then Review will work. But Review is also a part of the full Studio suite, and it gives you access to everything that Ftrack does. So hopefully this has given you a kind of it's been a quick overview. There's a lot of functionality within Ftrack that we haven't covered yet within this session, but I thought we should probably give some time to run through a few questions. And I know we've had a couple come in already. So I think Mahe, who's been sitting quietly up to now, she's going to help run through the questions, and we will answer those as best as possible. If any other questions crop up during this period, feel free to add them to the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Hi everyone,
So,
I am the digital marketing manager for Ftrack. I'm just going to go through some questions that have been submitted. So we've got one that's come through, and that is, does Ftrack integrate with Maya?
Yes. So yes, it does. So one of the products that we support through Ftrack Connect, which we haven't talked about too much yet, but we support a number of artist-facing products, but Maya is one of them. Matthias, did you want to talk a little bit about how Maya and Ftrack work together?
Sure. So so with Maya, you can publish, of course, what's in your scene back to Ftrack and create asset versions, basically. When you start Maya, you launch it directly from a task so that Ftrack knows, or that Maya knows actually, basically where to publish the assets that you are going to create, right, in Maya, so it ends up on the right place in the right context and so on. Besides just publishing, you can import assets that you have already produced or that you have somewhere else on the project. you can you have like a small asset library functionality in the Ftrack integration, and you can also, of course, read notes. You can see task information. You can see the latest feedback basically right from within Maya. Do we have time to show anything off from that, Rory, or do you think that we should continue with other questions?
We can show a quick demonstration if you have that set up. That'd be great.
Yes, let me just give me just a second.
So while Matthias is setting this up, I just wanted to say that the Maya integration that we're going to show it works similarly with a number of other applications. So depending on what tools you use, Ftrack will integrate with those tools, and the process is fairly similar between the different tools and how publishing works and how the interface between the products works.
Yeah, exactly. That's worth to mention that. You can publish from all of them. You can import from all of them, most of them at least, and read notes and so on and so forth. So how you do that from Ftrack, it's just a matter of downloading again the Ftrack desktop application that I showed you before while I was talking about publishing. From the Actions tab, from the first tab here, you can see what applications you can launch through your Maya application, or sorry, through your Ftrack application. This will automatically show you what apps that we support or what we provide integrations with that you have installed on your computer, basically. So if it doesn't appear here, it's just a matter of using the Publish tab. But if it appears here, if your software or your application appears here, it's just a matter of clicking it, and it will launch. You can also do it directly from the web interface. Just selecting a task, for example, let's say the modeling task in this case, go to Actions, and it will present you the same or actually more in this case when I selected the task, but fundamentally the same actions or the same launchers basically. I have launched Maya separately here while Rory was talking, and it looks basically like this right inside Maya. It has its own panes, basically an Ftrack menu where that allows you to import assets already published, as I mentioned before. You can publish new assets. You have an asset manager. You have an info panel and a way to see other tasks. Basically, I won't go over all of them right now, but this is how it looks like, and it's just to select them over there. A pane can look like this. You can see what components have been published, or basically what files have been published to this particular task. You can read more information. You can see you can set some import options and so on, depending on how you want this to be imported. But this is how it looks like in short.
Great. All right. Thanks, Matthias. We have another question, Mahe.
So we've got another one, which is, can Ftrack run in Linux? Or Linux?
Linux, yes. Matthias.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that question is about if Ftrack on an on-prem installation can run in Linux, and yes, that is possible. I mean, Ftrack was developed basically when we did the on-premise version of Ftrack, we developed it on CentOS. So that is our main option, basically, what we recommend. Also.
Yeah. So if you're using Ftrack in a browser, it doesn't really matter what iOS you're using it on. But if you're using it on-prem, then it will support Linux as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
That's important to point out.
Great. Thank you.
So we've got another question that's come in. There's quite a few of them underneath one. So the one that's asking about Blender integration, and then I'll break it down into small bits for you guys. Blender integration.
All right, we can start with Blender.
Yeah.
So that's not something we currently support, is it, Matthias?
Not currently, but I know that we get requests frequently now about Blender integration. So this is probably something that we should pass on to the integrations team to answer, really. But we don't provide it right here, right now, at least.
But it is something that we're actively working on at the moment. I know
Yeah,
that we've had a lot of discussion, and it's certainly Blender in popularity and usage of Blender has been increasing substantially. So it is something we're very aware of, and it's something we're working towards.
Definitely, yeah.
Yep.
Next one is sample template project. Is that available within Ftrack?
Yes. So when you sign up for Ftrack, when you sign up for a trial, you will get a number of template projects or sample projects where you can see how you can build up your project, basically. But we're also, of course, happy to jump on a call and show you those things on a demo, more on a personal demo, if you'd like, if you require that. So that's also something that we can set up.
So another question is if you're a small company without an IT department or programmer, how hard is it to customize?
That's that depends on what you want to customize, of course.
It also, I think it also depends on what you're talking about with customization, because you can get really deep into this and you can do a lot of very intricate and technical stuff, but you can also do some of the things like Matthias was showing, where you just, you know, if you want to add a column in one of those spreadsheet views that's not there, that's very simple to do. You don't need to be a programmer. There's a number of preset columns you can add, or you can define your own. So I think that some customization is quite simple.
Yeah, and also when it comes to the workflows in general, I mean, depending on what you want to track, you can create your own custom objects and tie them to a workflow or connect them together. I mean, that's right out of the box, right? So it depends on what really depends on what you want to customize.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth repeating that when you do things like creating custom views in Ftrack, so if you have a specific view that makes sense for all of your producers or all of your artists, you can share that view amongst those people. So they don't have to set it up themselves, so they don't have to go through and kind of recreate everything. You can create views and share them, and that makes it really easy to propagate that through the company.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next question is, what kind of data can be exported besides CSV, PDF with the chart?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about exporting, it's mostly about exporting task data, actually. And in the task spreadsheet, you can export time logs. Now, we didn't cover the time tracking functionalities in Ftrack, but you can export that data as well, right out of the box. I mean, if the question is about if you can export charts, that's not possible out of the box, but still something also that can be done with some customization, depending on, again, the requirements. So, I mean, we are providing powerful API or powerful APIs, actually, both Python and JavaScript APIs that allows you to create those things as well. So, but it would all depend on the specific question, I would say.
Yeah, and again, it's something we're very happy to talk to you about. So if you have requirements for your project, we'll set up a call. We'll run through this in a video chat, and you'll have access, depending on your time zone, you'll have access to Matthias from our Swedish team, or possibly Eric from our US team. And also Jado and I are based within the Asia Pacific time zone. So we can all jump on calls with you and talk through the various configurations, the various workflow requirements you have, and we can look at what can be done with Ftrack out of the box, what might require you know, some more substantial customization. If you have the ability in-house, we can talk to your developers about how that works. But we also have a professional services team, of which Matthias is part, who can help with customization as well. So we can do that as a project, and we can work with you on what's required and what you need. So we try to be as flexible, as open, as helpful as we can. We're really here to make sure that Ftrack works as well for you as it can.
So we've got another question, which is, what happens if an artist needs to use Ftrack without internet, or does it need internet to operate Ftrack?
I mean, if the artist doesn't have internet, then it would need to use an on-premise version of Ftrack. So basically, what's in the cloud, if you can't use the cloud workspace or the cloud setup of Ftrack, you can bring everything down. As we touched on earlier, everything can be run internally within firewalls and so on and so forth, air-gapped basically. So that's possible.
So it can be tricky if you have a number of people who are trying to share an Ftrack project, none of whom have access to the internet. It becomes a challenge with the workflow. Yeah, there are circumstances in which we can cope with it, and certainly within a facility. So within an air-gapped facility, Ftrack can run within that facility without an internet connection. And a lot of our users, up to the people working for the Disneys and the Marvels of the world, they will run that way, and they'll run with an entirely locked down facility without internet access. Yeah, again, depending on your circumstances, we need to talk about what you need specifically and how we would help facilitate that.
I suppose that kind of answers the next question, which is basically, is Ftrack able to be used only as offline, like for internal use only? So I guess you've answered that in a part. So I think that's really it for our questions. If there is any more that needs to be submitted, you're welcome to also send us an email. I'll let you guys carry on with the slides. If you want to pop them back up.
Yes, so I haven't got a lot else to show other than this is our contact email. So if you have questions for us, please feel free to send them through to sales@ftrack.com. We have our website, which you're more than welcome to visit. On the website, you have access to a lot of documentation, a lot of videos that show how Ftrack works. In the help section, you'll find a whole series of user guides that you can run through and see how Ftrack works as well. So if you sign up for a trial, you can use a lot of the user guides to get started. And again, at any point during that process, we can jump into a call with you and go through how Ftrack works, get you started, make sure that everything's working, so you're not sitting there trying to work it all out. You will also send through a follow-up email to everyone who attended this webinar. So you can also reply to us on that with further questions as well. So please feel free to follow up if you want to know more. We're here to answer your questions. So thanks for joining this session. We hope that it's been helpful. I appreciate it's been a bit of a whirlwind through a kind of a quick overview of the product. But as you use Ftrack more and as you become more familiar with the platform, we can help you evolve your use of Ftrack and make sure that your whole workflow is as simple and usable as possible. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.